Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Eden Zero, chapter 118. So, immediately into the chapter, it's revealed to us that the cause of the reprogram is due to a satellite relay. And that's one of those reveals that's pretty much in line with what I had thought was going on. But at the same time, it makes even more sense than my previous assumptions because with a French satellite, what French Ziggy can with the satellite, Ziggy can pretty much cover a wider area of effect beyond just the planet itself, which would feed into why the Starshines are so worried about him, about themselves getting reprogrammed and infected and whatnot. Then so yeah, he can cover a much broader, a much wider area of effect than he could if he had just constructed a tower. But at the same time, it's still well, it's still still being able to focus on the effects of the virus itself, which also leads to the next point I love, which is that I like the added caveat that with this chapter and the reveal of the satellite, it's a situation they they pretty much can't destroy the satellite to fix things because really it just the satellite as a self as a whole, it just acts as a conduit for the virus program that's infecting the machines. And it's one of those things that may sound like a small inconsequential detail, but it's something I'm appreciating more and more about Eden Zero because with little details like this, Mashima is putting our heroes into situations where, or obviously there are some problems they can fix with fighting, but at the same time, in the broader scope of a lot of the arcs, there are certain problems they can't necessarily always punch themselves out of as a solution, which also with and by doing this and by allowing characters like Weiss to in order to take spotlight in order to reprogram the satellite, it allows for more dynamic interaction on top of just making a lot more use out of this world he's created. So in that sense, I really like so yeah, as a whole, I really like this whole reveal with the satellite because it just creates a whole a different dynamic of just it's a situation where they can't just of a situation where they just the easy solution of just destroying it is kind of off the table. Like they can't just destroy it; they have to actually reprogram the damn thing. So yeah, I really like this chapter. I really like this reveal just for that fact that it kind of it allows for a lot more variety to pretty much the solution than just destroying it. Um, with that said, let's talk about Elsie's Ether Gear Star Drain because assuming it hasn't happened already, I can and in some ways have already seen people on the internet tearing this one to shreds and calling Elsie out as even more of an Urza clone. Which to that first one, I think she has already proven herself to be at least to a certain degree, vastly different just in personality and temperament alone. But if we're just comparing power and how it's a copy of Equip, there are similarities just in structure, but honestly, I think just from the fact that Elsie can change her fighting style by absorbing a planet's ether, honestly makes Star Drain much more of a versatile power. Because with Furniture Equip, if anyone remembers, it was with Equip it was limited to the weapons and armor that you could store in a pocket dimension. But by taking into account the vastly different kinds of planets in this world, as well as their environments, this actually makes Stardress vastly more limitless in scope of its ability. Its a bit is this actually makes like from Star Drain vastly more limitless in the scope of its abilities and potential. So yeah, on surface level, maybe it is a copy, but aside from that, I think it's a lot more power. I think it's overall a lot more powerful. Now, where I do concede, honestly, is that I hope Mashima gets slightly more creative with the actual transformation designs in the future because I'm not going to lie. The current costume that Elsie is wearing is unique in its own way, but there are certain recognizable elements I can recognize from basically other from from at least a couple of versions of Crips. Like I said, it's not entirely a copy, but there are elements I can see, and I hope he kind of just he tries his damnedest in order to get as much more creative as he can. I think. I hope so anyway. With all that being said, though, this chapter formally introduces us to Shura as Poseidon Nero's son, Poseidon Shura. Although that's kind of the least worrisome thing we learn about him, as on top of the fact that we more or less see that the man himself is an absolute psychopath, based on Orc's warning to Shiki, it's starting to really sound like those that have ether gear have their own sort of attraction to each other and a sort of innate ability to find each other, almost like a sixth sense or some kind of force that naturally leads them to find each other, even if they're not trying to. But in either case, Shura being introduced in this chapter definitely hints at the idea that there is more on the surface level of to the concept of gravity ether gear than what we're seeing. And one thing I really want to know is why, out of all the ether gears in this world, there's more than one Satan gravity ether gear right now. Because supposedly that's what Ziggy, Shiki, and Shura all have. But how is it possible that there's three gravity ether gears? The only explanation I can think of right now is that Shura Shura had learned to in order to wield the Satan gravity from Ziggy, like before Ziggy he had even touched Shiki how to wield it. That's kind of the only thing I can think of, and it would, if that's the case, it would make an interesting dynamic in terms of both Shura and Shiki having learned from it. But that's the only explanation I can think of right now as to why there's three gravity ether gears on two wielders of Satan gravity right now. Okay, so for me, so overall, this chapter was really good, really intense, honestly. But for me, there were count them, two morons in this chapter. The first was Mora, and do I even need to say what the fuck that was wrong with, what the fuck wrong that guy did? I mean, the dude keeps yapping away, and because he cannot shut his trap, I feel like he just keeps landing himself in complete shit with Homura. Like, dude, as of now, make peace with yourself, because when she gets when you see that face, that is pure rage, my boy, and you are fucked. I mean, seriously, that's number one rule when fighting Homura. Don't piss her off, and you just fucking did that, you moron. Like, seriously, how have you survived? Honestly, like, don't get me wrong, as a fighter, Mora is formidable, but honestly, personality-wise, Mora is one of those characters where I'm like, dude, how have you survived this long with that kind of a trap, with being unable to keep your trap shut? Like, seriously, how have you survived this long? That's kind of amazing to me. It's, yeah, Mora, you're fucked. Okay, that's just all it is to it. Now, the second idiot I have to talk about is Justice, and it's less of an annoyance than Mora to me, but it's one of those things where, on one hand, I can't blame Justice entirely, because as of right now, he probably doesn't know everything of what's going on. But at the same time, the fact that he's so laser focused on Elsie, even in this situation, kind of doesn't look good in terms of his self-awareness. So I guess what I'm hoping right now is that this chapter is a lead-in to Justice's outlook and priorities being, like, changed a bit, or at least broadened somewhat, at least temporarily, until this whole thing on Foresta is resolved. Because right now, there's much more important things going on than Elsie, and if I'm being frank, it in general, with Justice's whole priorities being Elsie, it's not exactly looking good on the intergalactic on the intergalactic army's whole awareness either. Like the intergalactic army, the fact that the intergalactic army don't even know what's going on on Foresta, yeah, kind of not a great situation unless there were people on there, but they were killed by the robots. I don't know, but yeah, not exactly a good look on the Interstellar Union army, honestly, right now. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and list your Crunchyroll. Dead Knife Enemy, signing off. Later, guys.